What's going on, guys? It's your boy Motivating Dane, and today we're talking about Bee Island. Now, if you want to see much farther gameplay, check out the stream, because there's no progression here, so there's no I mean, they're saving a level, but at the end of it, I was just throwing stuff away, so I kind of messed with my game. So, there's only one save file. There's no progression, so there's no going back to where I was. So I just started over and gave you 30 minutes of gameplay footage of me knowing a little bit about what to do, and then. So if you're interested in more, check out my YouTube channel for the stream that we did for Bee Island, because we played about 2 hours, got pretty far. All right, so here's the ranking, and again, this is not on how good of a game is, but how good of a tower defense game a game is that claims to be tower defense, or that has the tag and stuff like that. All right, our first one is towers. They are generic. There are no upgrades other than the ones that you get in the research center, but even still, it's not unique to a tower. It's just all of your towers, arbitrary 50% bonus attack speed or 10% range or whatever. It's just a really basic stuff. You don't get to prioritize them. You do get to go into first person, but only on one tower, and it only seems to help with issues. I had problems where an enemy would drop and they would be shooting at me, but my towers wouldn't shoot at them. So I had to take over one of my towers that was close, or build a tower that was close enough to then try to take it out. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's why first person helps to fix a bug, so to speak. So yeah, so I gave towers a 3 out of 10. And there's no way to tell what they do, how much damage they do, what their attack speed is. There's just no information. There's no targeting. There's no specific upgrades. Yeah, nothing super special, and they're relatively generic as well. Then we have enemies. So enemies it's a cool concept, bugs versus bees, and it is somewhat accurate in representation of what bugs actually are like, because, for example, ladybugs are very territorial, or some of them are. Some of them are kind of aggressive, and they would attack bees probably. I don't know if they truly do, but I know that they are not the nicest of bugs, some of them. So, I gave the enemies a 6 out of 10. It's a cool enemy concept. They look cool, but there's no way to tell what they do, anything about them, their damage, their health. There's nothing. There's no bestiary. You don't know really what's good against them unless you play the story mode. And then you get those little cutscene things where the queen tells you to do certain things to build against them. But other than that, yeah, there's not a whole lot else to say about the enemies. Progression. Now again, this is out of level progression, so there is none. There's just the one thing that you can play over and over again. That's it. Just the one. There's a challenge mode coming soon, is what it said, but I think the game's been out for a couple of years, so I think that it has just been dropped. I don't know. I don't know if it's still being worked on or not. But there's no progression, so 0 out of 10 for that. There is in-game progression, technically, however, which is the research center researches things, and then it upgrades, blah, blah, blah. But there are no individual levels. There's no rewards for completing a level. There's just, you play it, and then you're done. And then if you start again, you play literally the same thing again. So, yeah. No progression, just one map. Special enemies, I give it a 1 out of 10. There's no boss enemies, but there are enemies that kind of act like bosses when you first meet them, but then you build against them. So it's a bit of a for each wave that you get a new unit that you have to fight, you just basically get one of them, and then maybe the next time you'll have 2 or 3 of them as an introduction to having to build against them, I guess. But there are no bosses, no special enemies. All of the enemies do the same thing, essentially. Wasps will attack your soldiers, but then after that, everything tries to just destroy your town. They'll drop bombs, they'll shoot at them. Some of them will be distracted by your soldier bees first, and then they'll attack your town. But all of them have the same objective, and they all basically do the same thing. Just some of them are better at it than others. And that has to do with maybe some of the progression of the enemies themselves. As they get stronger and stronger, you get other kinds of them. For resources, I rated it a 3 out of 10. It's not very clear how much you have. You do have to go in to click on the queen bee who's reading a book. It is a cute game, right? You have to click on the queen bee who's reading a book and go through the menu to figure out how much of what you have. There's no, there's so much screen real estate that you have on this game. You could have easily made like a little drop-down menu on the top left, bottom right, whatever. So I don't know. That would have been better to have been a little bit more clear. The enemies don't generate any resources. The only resources you get are from the buildings you build. So it is a base building, base defense game. And therefore you have resources that you use for all of your buildings to include your defensive tower buildings. The micro and the pacing, there really is no micro. You can hold shift to build more than one building, and when you build the honeycombs, you can click and drag, so you don't have to click individually. Other than that, there's no micro, or there's no, yeah, there's no micro. You can build towers wherever you want, I guess, but you have to build the things first, and then as soon as you unlock the bell, you kind of want to use that every time you get attacked. So while a wave is coming at you, you don't really want them to be building, because then they're more likely to get attacked and to die. I think the pacing is fine. You could probably optimize this by building a whole lot of schools and trying to get as many bees as you can as soon as possible. Because you do have a limit for bees, and so reaching that limit as soon as you can is probably the fastest pacing that you can do. But yeah, I think the pacing is fine for the game. It's just the micro's non-existent. So I gave micro to pacing ratio a 3 out of 10. For macro play, I gave it a 2 out of 10. You only get to manage the speed and use the bell. You can take over a tower or a unit, but it's just not very effective. So that's really all you get to do while the wave is happening. And pretty much as the game is being played, that's all you get to do, other than like build out your base. So there's not a lot of micro play either. No special abilities, none of that as far as I can tell. I didn't get to the super late game, but I did watch a couple of videos of people in the late stages of the game, and it didn't look like there was anything extra that you could do. So for that, I put 2 out of 10 for macro play. Now for map design, I put a 1 out of 10 because there's only one map. The reason it gets a 1 and not a 0 is because you get to build it however you want, but you don't get to route enemies. So there's no routing for enemies. There's no, managing enemy, how they attack or where they come in at or anything like that, right? So yeah, and for the design itself for the map, I mean, it's just basic. There's nothing cool about it. There's no special tiles. If you build one of those little islands that are around, nothing happens, nothing special. So it's, yeah. I don't, yeah. Map design for a tower defense perspective is a 1 out of 10. I've seen much better. Strategy to combat ratio, 2 out of 10. You can go into combat as a bee. It's not very effective. It takes away from some of your macro ability if you want to build while a wave is happening. You don't want to be taking over a bee. There are towers that are good versus certain enemies when it comes to strategy, but for the most part, you're just spamming whatever random towers, and it'll work, pretty much. You don't really have to know what's good against what to just win, to get through the next wave. You just build stuff, and as long as you're progressing through the research tree, you're going to unlock the towers that are newer, and the newer towers are better, and the better towers will kill things more. So yeah, it's there's really not a ton of strategy involved in that. Replayability, I put 1 out of 10. There's a challenge mode after story mode, but it's not out yet, so can't grade it on that. And yeah, I would say it's probably worth replaying 1 or 2 times, but that's it, you know. You play it once, you play it a million times. So I don't see people doing that, but if they really want to beat the game, then I could see it, playing it a few times maybe. And then price, 4 out of 10. It's on Steam for $10, $9.99. I would buy it on sale for no more than $4.99. I think it may be even a little less. So price is the bonus points. It doesn't really help it here in its rating, but yeah, it is It's a 4 out of 10 for price. I just don't think it's worth $10. And it seems like, I'm just going to double check it really quick. Seems like it doesn't receive updates anymore either. Well, no, it did. It had an update for the December 19th, 2024. Before that, 2024, November 27th. Okay, so it is receiving updates, in which case, I mean, I'll still leave it at a 4 out of 10 as is. There was a lot of bugs that I ran into. There was enemies getting stuck and the wave not ending. There was a lot of latency, like a whole lot of lag. And I have a pretty decent computer, and there was a lot of lag like later in the game. So that was also problematic. Whenever you start getting into like the maximum beat count, the maximum hive count, and like it's like I don't even remember what wave we got to, but if you want to watch it, it's on the stream. So just check that out afterwards, and you'll see how much lag we had to deal with. It was crazy. And then the sound is so loud. So anyways, I think overall for the game itself, and as a tower defense game, I would give it a 4 out of 10 for price as a specialty. But if there's a lot of upgrades and optimizations and stuff that happen within the game, from a tower defense perspective, it could be, well, I don't know if it would even be that much better. It could be maybe a little bit better. From a tower defense perspective. As a game perspective, it definitely needs to work out some kinks as well. So it's still receiving updates, still receiving new content, I'm assuming. Therefore, I would say that it might be worth picking up, especially if you can get it on sale. I just don't know about the $10 mark. I really don't think so. So anyways, that was my thoughts on Bee Island. So that puts Bee Island in the C tier, towards the bottom end, but not at the very bottom of the C tier, for how tower defense-y is this tower defense game. Alright guys, that being said, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about Bee Island in the comments below, and I will catch you on the flip side. Deuces.